Yes, people. Just talking today, no real specific subject. I guess the subject is actually give thanks for revelation, the time of revelation. We say we living in the time of revelation where all things is revealed. What's hidden in the dark is coming to light now. Seeing? And I'm not going to comment on no specific person or incident, but I will say this. A lot of the incidents or a lot of the revelations that are being revealed in this time have affected a lot of people. A lot of people over the years. And if it hasn't firsthand affected a person, it has in some way, shape, or form second-handedly affected a lot of people. First of all, I'm going to start off and say I'm a man, and I'm not new to the rodeo, let's say that. I have been around for a while, and I've had my share of relationships with women. Not that I was just no whoremonger or nothing like that. I would never say that, and no one could ever accuse me of that. I would say, though, I have definitely had my share of women. And I will also go as far as to say that every woman that I have ever been in an intimate relationship, once our relationship got to the level where we were completely transparent with each other, I have realized that, or these women have revealed to me, every single woman that I've been intimate with has eventually revealed to me that they have been abused, whether it be physically abused, verbally abused, sexually abused. Most of them, all three. So I say that to make a point that this is more ordinary or more common than what you may think, or some people may think, who may not have, been involved with individuals that have been through these type of heinous crimes or offenses against humanity. So therefore, I feel that there's a time at hand where all of these workers of darkness are being revealed, exposed. And I don't ever want to see another person fall. I want to see everyone rise, especially my own people that have gone through the struggle and the things, the hardships that we've all gone through as Africans that have been displaced, for example. So I don't want to see another African fall. Yet, if the glove fit, make them wear it. And if you committed a crime, you must do the time and you must face the justice. Because no one is immune from the hands of justice. It's so funny. I have some friends, especially some female friends, and a lot of my female friends, they will have expressed or shared things about their abuse and things like this that they have gone through or witnessed in their lives. And they'll even call me sometimes and say, hey, I didn't want nothing. I was just calling. And so we'll sit on the phone and they really will be okay literally talking about nothing. And when a conversation that is fulfilling comes up, they all of a sudden have to get off the phone, or I'll call you back. And I just always thought that to be strange. But some of these same women will call me and they will tell me about crime shows, investigation shows that they will watch, about some horrific crimes that have taken place, and these things have nothing to do with them. It's just entertainment. It's on private investigation television or whatever, and they will call me and they will tell me that, hey, these things are going on, and man, it was interesting, and you should look at this and you should look at that. But when something real happens and comes in the media that has affected them or could be a direct effect to them, their children, their grandchildren, I'll make mention of it, and they'll say, I don't be watching that stuff. But you'll watch a detective show that's gonna have some horrific things in that detective show that have nothing to do with you, but you'll watch that to be entertained. But you don't want to watch things that could affect you, because let's face it, when you talk about the music industry and all of these things that are perpetuated in the media, these things affect us directly. Definitely affect our children, and definitely will affect our grandchildren. Most of the women that I know that have been in abusive relationships, the man that they were in a relationship with is heavily into certain types of music, certain cultures. So where do you think they got the influence to think it's okay to treat a woman like that? See, let's speak about the narrative now. Let's address this narrative that's going around right now. As a little boy, you listening to hip hop and R&B and all of this, and it's degrading women. You grow to be a man and you become a woman degrader. So you want to say that don't have no influence? Is the fact that you grew up listening to this type of music and involved in this, following this type of quote-unquote culture? It's directly connected. And we have been telling ones and ones for a long time that you have to disassociate yourself, disassociate yourself from these lower level and lower frequency things that are being pushed by Babylon. Why do you think if you turn on any radio station right now, you're going to hear the most famous hip hop or R&B songs, when you have artists from other genres like reggae music, roots and culture reggae music to be exact, that never get airplay? Their song may get played once on a major radio station, if that. And I say that because it may get played if they have a guest DJ that is coming, or there's a concert in town and they're gonna, it may be every blue moon you may turn on your mainstream radio and hear some culture, some consciousness. But for the most part, when you turn that radio station, you're hearing everybody in the club getting tipsy, or you're hearing all of these type of things, like, I don't see nothing wrong with a little bump and grind and all of that. What are we teaching our children? You go to these concerts, you support these artists. You go out here, you pay your money, you support these artists. Somebody comes and talks about positivity, you don't want to hear it. And the same people that go and support these artists and support this industry, these are the same people that are sitting up in church Sunday morning like they're holier than thou, casting judgment upon people because they're not in church. What were you doing Saturday night? What were you listening to? What are you listening to? What's your playlist like on a regular? Right? What kind of concerts do you go to? Do you frequent? You purchase tickets to go support these pedophiles and rapists and womanizers. So what I'm saying is, you're making way, you're giving way for these things to be passed on to your own children. Yes, your own children. No matter what you tell them or whatever, if your children are caught up into this music and this industry and this media, then guess what? The mass media is indoctrinating and programming them to think this is acceptable too. So before long, your son or your daughter may be involved in some of these same crimes or these same type of parties or events that take place. So yes, we have to be sure to set that example and change the narrative that these things are unacceptable. I remember growing up as a child, I come from a family that we listened to mostly gospel music. My parents were heavily into the church as I was a child, and so we listened to gospel music. My father, I remember, he called every other music blues music, but he wasn't referring to it as blues like the genre of blues. He was referring to it as blues as if it was ungodly. And so anything we listened to that was not gospel, he would be like, turn that off. That's blues music. We don't listen to that, So I thought my father was being like a little extra, a little too strict or whatever, but I carried it through my life. Now as a parent, I can understand what is the truth, and I realized why my father took such of a stance, because he saw the corruption within the music and the industry, and he knew the power of music. So mostly growing up, if we weren't listening to gospel music, we would listen to instrumental, because my father was a saxophonist. So we would be listening to instrumentals of him. He would be playing the saxophone, and there would be other instruments playing. It would be no voice, no vocals, So that was where I developed my appreciation, my great appreciation for music. And I felt sorry for some of my peers because they didn't have that influence. And so they were just listening to anything. And sometimes they would be listening to things, and I would be like, I can't believe they are actually listening to this and think it sounds good. But I have to realize that they didn't have the same upbringing that I had. So therefore, they're going to have a different perspective, which, okay, I understand that. Still, at some point in your life, you have to think on your own. You have to think on your own, people, at some point in your life. I remember when I was in around the 5th grade, maybe 6th grade, could have been 4th. It was around that time, 4th, 5th, 6th, somewhere around that age group. I went to a flea market with my mother and my best friend. And so my mother, she used to go to get like antique things, and she would go get fruit and certain things that were at the flea market, because we went to the outdoor flea market in North Florida. So they would have basically some of everything at these flea markets. And so I remember one time, her and my best friend, she took me and my best friend to the flea market, and we were at the age where, we're 2 young boys, so we can go and kind of, go by ourselves. We didn't have to stay with my mom the whole time. So she would say, okay, I'm going to this aisle, and we're going to meet back here at this time. And at that time, everybody was wearing watches. We didn't have cell phones. So we had a watch, a Swatch watch and things, So, yeah, so we had the watch on. So we would make sure we were there at the time we were supposed to be there. But during the time that we had to be by ourselves, we would explore every little nook and cranny of the flea market, because we enjoyed having that freedom as, children. And so I remember one time, and I remember this very well and vividly, because this was my first time ever owning my own rap cassette tape. So everything else, I would listen to the radio, or I would listen to records, whatever my mother had on, like a 45 or a 33 or whatever, if she had a vinyl record of this. And she had mostly R&B. She didn't have no rap. I never saw my mom with any rap until, I will say, the late 80s or so. Maybe she got like a Salt and Pepper album or something, But before then, it was mostly R&B. So anyway, I remember I went into this flea market and I purchased. Now, see, the thing is at a time in the 80s, when you went to purchase an album at a legitimate record store, you would have to show ID, because if it had parental discretion advised, you had to be 18 years old or older to purchase this album, right? Or cassette. So, but when you went to a flea market, they would have albums all around, and they didn't check any ID. You could buy anything. It didn't matter what it was. It didn't matter if it was an X-rated movie. If you had the money to purchase it, you could purchase it, and they would say nothing about it. So anyway, to make a long story short, I purchased the NWA Straight Outta Compton album without my mother's knowledge. My best friend, he purchased a female named Sweet Tea. He purchased her album. And I remember we would listen to these, and we made a copy of each one to give to each other. And we used to walk around with the little cassette Walkman with the headphones and the Walkman that you hook it onto your belt loop or something. And so we would walk around listening to this. We never would listen to it out loud because, of course, my mama or my daddy wasn't going to play that. And I couldn't take a risk of them hearing that I was listening to this type of stuff. So I would listen to it and listen to the tape over and over and over, oftentimes even rewinding the tape so that I could, learn the lyrics of the songs and everything like that. And so, yeah, I began to like really get into this music, and this was like gangster rap now. And imagine, I'm like I said earlier, I'm fourth or fifth or sixth grade or somewhere around that. So I had no business listening to this type of music, but I was. And I will say that music served its purpose to create a certain type of I'm trying to think for the word. I guess the word I would use is corruption within my mind. It began to corrupt my mind and my mentality to the point where I began to take on a lot of the views of the songs and the singers or rappers of these songs. And knowing that my parents did not raise me this way, knowing that I did not experience this in real life, but I began to take on these warped perspectives because it was glamorized in the music. And so, as it was glamorized in the music, I thought, well, this is something that makes a person cool, or this makes you, you can be a part of the in crowd, or whatever you could say. So and then I remember as I got older, now we fast forward into around 9th grade. And now I'm in the 9th grade and I'm into all of this music. I even began to write my own rhymes and rap songs, and it was a thing in the 90s to, hold rap battles and things like that. And so I would even write my own raps, and I would enter into battles with other people, and a lot of my friends were doing the same thing. So, and sometimes I would have my friend to help me write a rhyme, or I would help my friend write a rhyme. They would say a rhyme and I would say, add this to it, or they'll tell me, add this to it, or, and so it really became like a part of our lives. And so I went to this beach party on Jacksonville Beach, Florida. And we were in the 9th grade, and it was at night. And we were out there. I think there was a bonfire going, and we were just around the bonfire, and we were just enjoying the night on the beach. And they were playing all type of rap and R&B and, and one person came and said, hey, I have the CD. Can you please play this CD for me? And one of my good friends, it was his car that had the booming system in it that we were playing the music from. And he had a CD player in his car, or it could have been a cassette player. I don't really remember exactly at that time. It may have been CD, it could have been cassette. But either way, they gave us the music and we put it in. And the first song that played was Bob Marley Redemption Song. It was actually the Bob Marley Legend CD that they gave us. And no, I take it back. It wasn't Redemption Song first. It was Buffalo Soldier. Now, this was my first time hearing Buffalo Soldier ever in life. And so when I heard it, I was blown away. And I asked them to play it again. Repeat that. Pull it up and play it again, So, man, he played it again. We had to play it about maybe three or four times because I could not believe the sounds and the music that I was hearing, because I never heard nothing like it. But I'll tell you this, that song was so powerful and had such a powerful impact on me that when I reached home, I began to try to look up Bob Marley. So I immediately went to the record store the next day to try to find a Bob Marley album. And I found it. I found the Legend album in the cassette store, the record store. So I purchased the record or the cassette. And then I had it, and I was listening to it over and over and over and over. And then there was this thing called BM Music or BMI Music or something like that. Columbia Music. It was something called, and they used to send out this like newsletter in the mail, and they would have like a list of a lot of popular music albums, and you could get like 12 cassettes for 1 penny. And the thing was is that once you ordered it, you just had to agree that you would purchase at least like 1 or 2 or 3 albums at regular price from them within like the next year or so. So I would do this. You would tape a penny with like Scotch tape onto this little postcard, and you would send it in, and you would check the boxes on the albums or the cassettes that you wanted to order. And you could get like 12 of them. Sometimes it was 8 of them. But I remember one time I got the one with 12, and I ordered 12 Bob Marley albums on cassette. And back in them times, we used to have the little briefcase where we put all of our cassettes in them, and we would have the cassette case in the center of the seat in the car. So when we in the car, we could listen to one, and once it finished, we change it out and listen to the other. So I became a straight Bob Marley head. I only listened to Bob Marley for years. And to the point where I gained a nickname in high school of Bob. They called me Bob in high school. One reason, because I always listened to Bob. Another reason was because I love ganja. And I would always come to school with red eyes, and I would always be under my ganja still. So, so yeah, it began to really transform my whole perspective of things. And it actually turned me against music that was degrading, music that was not uplifting. And so from that point, I stopped listening to rap, hip hop. I didn't listen to R&B. If it wasn't reggae, I wasn't listening to it. If it wasn't conscious, positive reggae, I was not listening to it at all. So it got me out of it. So I will say reggae saved my life, because I was going down a path to destruction. If I would have followed this rap music culture and following these people who were presenting themselves as role models and things to the youth, and I began to look to the reggae artists. And when I say reggae, I mean the foundation reggae artists. And I began to look to their teachings. And so, yeah, people, these things are serious, right? And from that time, I began telling people the destruction that following this industry, this media, was doing to their minds, and what it would bring about in the future to come. And y'all know, all of these things are being revealed now. I give thanks for the foresight to be able to see them before they even happen. And so now I even give more thanks for the revelations that are coming forth, which basically is showing ones and ones the truth.